Hey, Fellowship Asheville, welcome to the Fellowship Asheville ConvoCast, where we hope to inspire you with stories of what God is doing in and through the people of Fellowship Asheville. And in season 2, we are introducing you to the deacons and staff. If you've missed season 1 was introducing you to the elders, so you can go back and watch or listen to those on YouTube or wherever we have these posted to listen to on our website. But today we get to start the back half of season 2, where you get to meet, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, you get to meet what I consider to be the most incredible church staff ever. The most incredible church staff for sure that I've ever worked with. I think the most incredible church staff that ever was, although some people might disagree with me, but this is what I think to be true. And today I get to introduce you to someone who I'm sure you know and know of and have seen, or have at least seen an email with her name at the bottom of it, and that is Amy Hinch. So Amy, say hello to everybody.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, so Amy, describe a little bit about who you are to those who are watching and listening.
Yeah. Well, I'm a wife to Brian. We met in college in 2001 and dated all throughout college and then got married right after. Mom of 2 boys, Noah and Micah. Noah is a 12-year-old in 6th grade, about to be in 7th, and Micah is 9, will be 10 this summer. And they are fully active boys, you name it, the typical stereotype boys. They're a handful, they're fun. So that's the home life, and we have our dog Moses. So he's a lab mix who we've had. He is 14 years old.
Wow.
So Moses is our baby. And yeah, that's home life. We live in Weaverville, so outside of Asheville. And I grew up in a very small town, one of 4 total siblings, mom and dad, and we grew up on a farm. So I am the country girl who also had a dad who fixed cars. So I'm a fixer and like being outside. So that's the gist.
That's great. Well, what's something most people don't know about you?
So we grew up a lover of basketball as a family. Mostly all of us are Carolina Tar Heel fans. My brother is the Rebel, who's not, but the rest of us are. So I played basketball outside growing up, and then in 4th grade, that's when we started being on teams. So it's a little bit different than it is now. But in 4th grade, I was the free throw champion of our entire league of the county.
The whole county? You were the free throw. Okay, so how many did you was it many in a certain amount of time, or how did
remember.
You get this title?
I think we had to shoot 10 free throws at a time, and then it was like a tournament kind of thing. And I don't even remember. I was 4th grade.
Okay,
it's sad,
but you just
I do
remember the trophy.
Because I have the trophy. It's still at home somewhere. But with that,
do you know where the trophy is?
I'm not sure. It's either in
a really? Okay, good.
box at our house that Mom stored up all the trophies, or it's in Union Grove, or it's in the trash. I have no clue. Okay. But basketball was a thing for me, so I played it from 4th grade all the way through 10th grade. 10th grade, I tore my ACL playing soccer. Soccer was also my other sport, so I did not rejoin the basketball gig so until college, and I just played intramural. So I was not this big all-star, don't think that, but free throws were my thing. I still remember my middle school coach. We would practice free throws in practice, and he would get behind me to distract me, and I would still make them. So I'm there. It's give me a challenge, and I'm competitive. That's a part of me that a lot of people don't know. Competition is pretty high. Don't tell me I can't do something, because I will be determined to do it. Most anything. There's some things but
that's awesome. So how did you come to know Jesus?
So I grew up in a home where we went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. I never didn't know church and didn't hear about Jesus. But in 6th grade, I grew up Methodist, and in 6th grade, that's what you do. You go through confirmation class. So that's when I publicly professed Jesus as my savior. And, it was all the things. So, and I'm not saying it wasn't real. It was a very real thing to me, but I don't think my faith became my own until college, freshman year of college. That's when I can look back and see a big change, because it wasn't doing all the normal things. It was now my choice for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when Jesus came really real to me. And it was through a church that taught through scripture like we do here, where the Bible became really real, and Jesus became more personal. So 6th grade was the date, but college year, freshman, was kind of the heart change that really started walking more with Jesus in that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people probably shared a similar story where they said yes as a kid, but got to a place later in life where they're like, oh, I really need this. Like, this isn't just knowledge. This is something that's real.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Well, talk about a little bit about what you do here at Fellowship, your ministry / job. The reason I use those terms interchangeably is because I think our job is our ministry, no matter what your job is. I think it's your ministry, not just for people that work in and for church, but I think for anybody. If you've got a job, that's your ministry. If you're a stay-at-home mom, that's your ministry. If you're working at FedEx, that's your ministry. So what do you do?
Yeah. So my title is Connections Director, and that has evolved. I've gone through admin assistant, executive assistant, assimilation director, but we have landed on Connections Director, and I love this part of where God's led me to. And what that means is I help connect visitors to the church, and then folks who are, in the beginning stages of fellowship, connect them to the church, whether that's just connect with personal relationships with other team members that I have, with my greeters or safety team members or ushers, or whether it's connect them to a discovery event where they get to meet you and I, and we get to talk about fellowship from a 30,000 view of who we are, and just really meet people, get them, push folks toward like getting connected in service or getting connected with groups, that kind of thing. I'm kind of that conduit maybe that starts getting people connected. And I say but it's a lot of me leading my teams. My team members have a ginormous part in creating that like feel of hospitality and love and acceptance and welcoming here at Fellowship, that hopefully helps people take those next steps. And that's here in person and online. So in our online service, that's the team that I oversee is the connections host, making sure technical things are going well for that. So that's that connections piece for our church. And then another part of the job is then connect the church to the community. And that's what a lot of people would qualify as like missions or serve, but it's actually more than that too. So it is connecting our church to the community, but it's through projects like you're used to, or going on mission trips overseas, but it's also connecting with other local organizations because we have a really big building that sits empty sometimes. So it's really touching in on, okay, how can we use the resources God's provided us to help minister to our community? So we've got outside organizations who use our building on an ongoing basis. So it's really making those connections with the building. Obviously, Oakley Elementary is right across the road. So it's stewarding that relationship and how can we help them? How can we say yes to whatever we can say yes if there's needs. That includes lunches at Ledgewood or taking people meals and food that the social worker has identified as those in need. So it's really having a heart for the community. So it's service and missions, it's overseeing the whole building. And then safety is thrown into all of that, safety and admin, because safety can go with any of it. And when I say safety, it's making sure we're creating safe environments. Obviously, COVID has put its new twist on that. So it's all of the things with that I won't even waste our time on in this. But yeah, it's safety, making sure like kids are in rooms with adults who are background checked, all those kind of systematic rules and that kind of thing. I oversee that. And then I have roamers on Sunday who just patrol the facility inside and out just to make sure everything's going okay.
So that's a lot.
That's kind of a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a lot. people watching and listening may be thinking, what does Amy not do then? Because, that connections director, it is connecting our, people to our church and connecting our church to the community. And so it's a really big umbrella. So, this wasn't one of our questions, and I know you love to go into things unprepared, so you'll love this. Like how, and that's sarcasm. Amy loves to be prepared. Yes, she's a 1 on the Enneagram. So everything needs to be in line. But with all of that, what do you find to be the most difficult part of your job? Because that's a lot of things to manage. When does it get hard?
Probably knowing that I'm a 1, which I think they say perfectionist, but there was another word someone said. I'm like,
they've changed it. It's now the improver.
Improver.
Yeah.
So like, I'm totally an improver. Like I'll see a problem and want to fix it. And sometimes those problems aren't fixable. And if they are, I'm going to upset someone. Or, rock the boat or not agree, because I'm also like the people pleaser, the peacemaker. So I want to agree with everyone and everyone be at peace. And that's just not realistic, because I see things that others don't. And I've had to really step into who God has called me to be, to have I know I have a voice, but to actually use that voice and speak up into situations where I go against the flow of what others may be thinking, because I see the things that other people don't see, because they're not gifted to see it that way. And I am. So it's finding that balance of seeing what I see and being that 1 and being like, my idea is right, but, holding back because it's really the heart of it all that really needs to shine through. So it's really discerning where the Lord is in that. But it's hard for me to disagree. It's hard for me to speak up sometimes when I know that I'm the only one in the room who sees it the way I see it. But with all that, what I've found, you said we have one of the best staff teams. Like, we do. It's definitely an atmosphere and environment where I've learned that, I have a voice and I'm not going to be shamed for it. If people aren't going to look at me differently, they may, we all have our twitches. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. But that's hard. But we always get through it. So that's the hard part for me.
Yeah. It's fun on our staff team when we do go through, and just so people watching and listening know, this is May 19th. And we have just finished the process of deciding and communicating what we're going to do with the CDC's new guidelines about, fully vaccinated people and Governor Cooper's executive order and all of that stuff. And it was a marathon all staff meeting. I think 5 hours for us to decide. It was harder to make this decision than it was to go virtual back in March, to think through all that, because it's just a more complicated, nuanced decision. And there was a whole lot less guidance from CDC and Governor Cooper and all that, which is fine, but it just made it harder. But, what you add to that team is, like you said, it's stuff that we're not thinking of, and stuff that we can't see. And what I love about what you add is when you do speak up, which, by the way, I didn't know you had a problem not speaking up. I couldn't tell that from our staff meetings.
Really yes, worked on it.
You've done a great job. Which will be our next question: how has God grown you? But what you do when you say something is, it's like it opens a whole nother box for us, and we're like, oh, we've got to deal with all this before we make this decision. And it's so helpful, because if you didn't ask that question, somebody would be throwing that box at us. But you allow us to deal with it before, and to handle it correctly, so that when a situation comes up, we've already thought through how to handle it. So it's your position on this staff is invaluable. And I say your position, I mean you being on this staff is invaluable. The way that God has created you is invaluable for that very reason. You bring up stuff that we don't see. But with that being said, like, how has God grown you in this position?
Well, for a long time before this, back in, I guess it was 2006, like I was a summer camp director at a totally different church, which is great. And I was in the lead, like I was director. And then I'm geared admin wise, which I've really had to embrace. Like I was there, but like I need to look at that like as a gifting, and that's something the Lord's working on with me, because just because I'm admin doesn't mean that I'm not a leader. And that's
Yeah, because you're
something.
not a secretary, y'all. That is, y'all, church, I need everybody to hear this. We do not have a church secretary, right? And nothing wrong with secretaries, but a person with an administrative gift is very different. And so I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you for that plug. Like, yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But yeah, I went from like director to then my next position in my job career was an administrative assistant. So I was the assistant, I was the admin, like, but I was never in charge, doing a lot of that thing. So I tended to just like hold back because I wasn't in charge. I wasn't the director. I didn't have the authority. Although what I've learned, and then, then going into a director role, and now really going from, executive assistant, assimilation director, to now connections director with even more responsibility. Like I do have a voice that the Lord has given me. And that's been something he's totally had to teach me on. So when you say you haven't noticed it, it's because you're on the back end of it. However many years ago, I was more quiet. And now it's really good to see how the Lord has like changed me in that and grown me in that, to really embrace, like, I have a story to tell. I have a viewpoint to tell, and holding back does no good for anyone, except it hurts me. Like I'll be the one getting frustrated. So,
and it hurts the organization when you hold back.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's probably one of the biggest things the Lord has really grown me in this job. And I think too, with, the environment that we have, it's a very safe environment, and that's helped me be able to form. And
what do you mean by that?
Safe like environment. With our staff, I don't feel like there's any judgment or like, hey, you're just an assistant, or you're wrong. Like it's just a safe environment to be able to say things and grow in that. And that took me a long time, because self-insecurity was definitely there, and it's still there. I'm just growing in my own security. So yeah.
That's great. Well, as you look ahead, to the ministries that you get to oversee and the ministries that you have your hands in, what do you hope happens as you look into the future?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I hope people get connected. It seems really easy to say that, but get connected. We're coming hopefully on the end of this, where people have been at home. I sure
hope so.
And I'm hoping, I mean, who knows, have been at home or been, some have felt trapped just to not go out. Some haven't, but it's really like, how do we, and I won't even say get back to, but how do we move forward in this and really help people connect again in ways that's beyond just a screen to screen. Screen to screen is good, and it is something that I'm not taking for granted anymore, because we've got people of our fellowship family who that's all we have is screen to screen, because they may be in Moldova or Pennsylvania. But how can we really connect people and help them get back or move forward into connection, and realizing that relationship is really important. Like we were created for relationship. Like God himself in the Trinity is God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Like he himself is relational. So really figuring out how to do that. That's a hope for our people that I have. And then, that's kind of the assimilation side per se in that heart, but then really getting connected to the community in ways that we haven't before. Whether that's just new organizations that we're supporting. I'm really excited about some new organizations I got on the docket that I want to financially support as a church and serve through mission projects and that kind of thing. So it's really just spreading our wings to say, okay, Lord, who is it and what is it that you want us to steward well that's here in the community or somewhere else, statewide, internationally. So yeah, it's a big thing of connection.
Yeah, as I think about your job, I think about that vision statement that we have, where it lists all the different things that we'd love to see God do to be the church that we think he's asking us to be. And two of those you just hit on. One is, we want organizations using the building more than we do, and before COVID, we had 8 different
Yeah,
organizations
something
using
around
the
there.
building. Yeah, somewhere around there. And then over Christmas, we had Mix 96.5 using the
Yeah.
building for their Christmas for Kids, which was great fun. And then the other part of that too, that hits on your job description that you just said, is the money we give away. You know, one of our
Mhm.
hopes is to give away more of our operational budget than we keep. And right now, 20% of our operational budget goes to things outside of the church, to
Yeah.
organizations and ministries and missions outside of the church, which is really cool. And so you're in this really unique position to be able to see that stuff that a lot of
Yeah.
people don't see. And so I'm curious if there's a story that you can share about something that you've seen God do that maybe people just don't see.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely multiple that I can think of off the top of my head. But there's one that kind of just pops into my mind for sure, because it really meets on a lot of different things. There is an organization locally in town called Your Other Brothers, that one
Mm,
of our members lead, and they meet in our building the first or second Tuesday of the month. I can't remember. But he's that organization is one of the organizations we financially support, and we also support with building use. And with that, and I think the reason his name came to mind, is that he is really sharing his story, and
mm,
sharing your story is part of our 5 different things of good soil that we say where
mhm.
discipleship happens. And Tom probably does that the best that I've seen anyone
Yeah,
do, of sharing his story. You can go on the website, yourotherbrothers.com, I'm sure, and learn more about Tom and his mission and vision. But like, I love that we're supporting a single guy who is really stepping into this cultural thing, of homosexuality, and really what does it look like to be a godly person,
mhm,
walking with Jesus through that.
mhm.
So I
And
love
helping
that
others. Yeah,
and totally helping
yeah,
others. And that
yeah.
continues to grow. So we are
Mhm,
praying for him and that ministry, financially supporting it so it continue to grow and reach more people. Um, he's in the building. Like, it's just capturing all those different things
yeah,
that we're doing. And he is making disciples. Like, I know it. Like, I've heard stories that I just, for confidentiality wise, I won't share all them,
right.
but I can tell you guys, like, God is moving in and through him in a big
Mhm.
way. And it's really humbling that we get to steward God's money really well and help him do what God's called him to do.
Yeah. And for those of you who are watching and listening, season 3 of the ConvoCast is introducing you to the people we support as a church. So you'll get to meet Tom if you haven't already, and
Yeah.
meet some of those other people that lead organizations or are part of organizations that we support, which is great fun. Well, Amy, let's go ahead and close this down. I want to ask you the question that I ask everybody. How would you describe fellowship in one word or phrase?
The word for me is real. It has been since the very get-go. When people a long time ago have asked, hey, what's fellowship about? And I'm like, it's a place you can be real. And what I really mean is that is like, you can be real, come as you are, and leave changed. Like,
Mm,
there is something here where you can come with all of your things, no matter what it is, like whatever it might be, your questions, or I'm just lacking in this and I need help. Like, you come as you are, and people are accepting of that. You can be very real. You don't have to hide behind that, like, let's just sit in church and put on this fantastic mask.
mhm.
I mean, if you need to walk in church bawling your eyes out because of whatever happened that morning, like, do it. And there's no
Yeah.
judgment here or shame in that, because of the gospel. So it's very real. And then with that, the realness comes grace and truth, that helps change. Like, that's transformation. The gospel does that. So I've felt it from the get-go of that realness. I can come exactly who I am. And I hope others do the same,
Yeah.
to come as they are. And we'll see what this gospel of Jesus does
Yeah.
to prick our hearts and change us for the better. So
Yeah, that's great. So, Amy, if people want to contact you with questions, or if they want to serve with you in one of the areas that you lead, how would be the best way for them to do that?
email Amy at fellowshipasheville.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, Amy, thank you so much. And for those of you who are with us, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to hit like and subscribe, because that just helps us with whatever it is on YouTube that helps us with. And then we will have a few more of these with staff. And then season 3 will start after that. Y'all, I love you. And I love being in the church with you. Thanks for joining us. Bye.